What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and people are understandably tired, sick and tired of hearing about The Last of Us 2. And every time I think the topic is kind of wound down, something new comes up. And over the weekend, it seems like almost in a perfectly timed, almost coordinated effort, several game journalists, including Alessandro Fileri of Gamestop and Kirk McKeon. Kirk, I love to throw milkshakes at people I disagree with politically. McKeon, over from VG 24/7, went on a bit of a anti-YouTuber rant simply because people dared to criticize The Last of Us Part 2. And I've said many, many, many times in the past that, look, of course people like this game. There are millions of people that enjoy this game. And they shouldn't feel bad enjoying it. Even many of you have reached out to me like, dude, give it a rest. I know. I hear you. But this piece of news is more about their reaction to it and just how slimy these people are. Over the weekend, we know that really vile things were sent to a voice actress, Laura Bailey, on the show. Everyone basically came out in agreement, myself, Angry Joe, obviously people like SkillUp, to disavow these type of things. And here's how Alessandro, certified blue checkmark with a whopping 1,370 followers on Twitter, but is a writer and editor for GameSpot. Remember, GameSpot is the outlet that couldn't beat SpongeBob. It's also the same outlet, if I remember correctly, that gave Pokemon, the Waterworld Pokemon 8 out of 10 too much water. Also the same outlet that got mad about all the zombies from Days Gone being white, even though, it's part of the albino, it's part of the lore, it's built into the game. But none of that's important, obviously. So Angry Joe, or Joe Vargas, puts out, send these type of things, there's small PP energy. If you send these things, you're a piece of garbage, blah, 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 right? Okay, very strong. Also saying, I stand with Laura Bailey, who did an awesome job voicing her character Abby in The Last of Us 2. To which Alessandro decides to tweet, this tweet from Angry Joe rings incredibly hollow, considering his review of The Last of Us Part 2 is just an extended diatribe of his misogynistic views. His content more than likely contributed to people harassing Laura, so he can just F off with his pathetic about face. Well, it has his tweet, obviously, wonderfully ratioed at 1.4 thousand replies to a paltry 350 likes. And most of the replies are pointing out it's absolutely ridiculous. Joe coming in here saying, you haven't even seen a single one of my videos, have you? Game journalism has become a circus. You see all this stuff. And this is exactly what I talked about when Joe's 6 out of 10 came out. I mean, you just knew that people were going to go at him for not liking the game, not saying it was stunning and brave, 10 out of 10. His review was basically 2 hours long, including, the first 1 hour long review and then the extended review and spoilers, where he broke down point by point how he arrived at a 6 out of 10. In fact, he basically talked himself into a 5 out of 10 by the end of the extended review, none of which had anything to do with female characters or, Abby being, or any LGBTQ stuff like that. Of course, Joe is very progressive. To come at Joe with that is absolutely hilarious. And then, of course, I punched the beehive. Oh no, these mean bees are now attacking me. He replies immediately after. Oh, great. Now Angry Joe and his cringe army are coming after me too. Wonderful. And that, of course, deliciously ratioed again. So this is Andrew, essentially attacking Angry Joe for not giving the game a 10 out of 10 stunning and brave, and then whining when Joe had the absolute audacity to reply to him and to debunk it. Now, the reach of this individual is not very strong, but they do work. They're a writer and editor at GameSpot. And I thought it was curious, very curious that Monday morning, I had my good old friend Kirk McKeon coming out, and now Neil Druckmann, by the way, I should say, as a addition to the story, Neil Druckmann also received some very very suboptimal comments that are not okay. But a more cynical person might, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if my game was getting piles and piles and piles of negative attention, maybe putting together these little montages of the worst type of comments on the internet would deflect a little of that. I'm not saying these comments aren't real. I'm not saying they're not bad. I'm just saying that there is a benefit to kind of putting this kind of thing out there. Neil saying you can love or hate the game and share your thoughts about it. Unfortunately, too many of the messages I've been getting are vile, hateful, and here are just a handful of them. I feel it's important to expose. And he puts a trigger warning on it. Okay, so obviously these comments are just not good. They're all very, not okay. None of them's okay. None of it's okay. I disavow all of it. Then you see Ashley Birch in here. Kimmy, thank you for having the guts to make something emotionally challenging and unexpected. Yeah, well, people didn't like it. But what they're saying to Neil and what they're saying to Laura Bailey, obviously not okay. But of course, Kirk McKeon never misses an opportunity to grind an axe. I've exposed some very bad takes of his several times in the past, and he has a weird obsession with me. I mean, I know his little outlet, VG247, which probably has a couple 100,000 fake followers. I find it interesting. You look at this account with 205,000 followers, 4 likes, 8 likes, 20 likes, 25 likes. They have 5 likes. Here's a Final Fantasy VII with just 21 likes and somehow has 12 retweets. So even the people retweeting it don't care about it. A Cyberpunk 2077 article, 7 likes. Where are all your followers, VG247? I mean, this is the amount of interaction somebody with 100 followers would get. I'm guessing if I scrub that Twitter account, most of those followers are bots. But I mean, that would take, that's actual journalism. But Kirk McKeon's not interested in that. He says a lot of this is fueled by, and then he adds YouTube, reactionaries who profit from riling these people up. Something needs to change. They can't continue to operate like this. Many of them have legitimate sponsors. So what Kirk is doing here is several-fold. First, taking in Team YouTube. Second, calling for what can only be described as deplatforming. And third, attacking sponsors. And he doubles and triples down in his own reply, saying, you could see, yeah, I'm definitely not against valid criticism. It's the get woke, go broke crowd that really needs to F off into the bin. Those people who make 10-minute videos slowly reading people's tweets. Who are you talking about, Kirk McKeon? Could you be talking about me? I'm not really a narcissistic, gentle fellow man, but I'm guessing that given your next reply will out you as obsessively following my content and being extremely butthurt about it. As you can see, Kirk goes on, and he even has the absolute man, the absolute hero, the man with the biggest swinging brass balls on the planet, not only censors my name, but doesn't at me in his comment to smear me. So the Q apostrophe artering, yeah, you wouldn't want me to find out about this, Kirk McKeon, superhero of the internet, literally just did a video saying, don't send these things to actors, while redirecting them to the game director. No, I said, don't send them. And also look at Neil Druckmann and his humble brag. He also goes on to say, there's also a clip of him suggesting the actor faked the screenshots. No, that's also not true. What I said was, they are screenshots. Screenshots can be fake. However, I believe they're real. I at no point put forth any particular amount of truth or any real substance behind the fact that, that they were faked. I just said they can be faked. I'm sure Kirk McKeon, if there was a bunch of, just images of tweets of you saying vile things, your first response would, of course, be, well, where are the archives? I mean, you're a journalist with great journalistic integrity. I'm sure that you would want some evidence, but truth just gets in the way of your good narrative, your good story. And then, after he gets called out, Ian directly says, finally got around to this. Feels like you know, he puts a blockchain down and blocks all these people. Imagine being so stunning and brave, that you would need to follow or you need to block the entire following group of somebody that you also, as a stunning and brave hero, you know, talk junk about and attack their sponsors and, you know, virtue signal to your fellow journalists about these people have legitimate sponsors. They must be stopped. You know, I understand, Kirk. I really this part's going to go out to Kirk. By the way, if you're watching this video, I hope today will be the day that I earn your subscription. There's a little red button right below the video that says subscribe if you're not subscribed, or maybe just look to make sure you are still subscribed, because we know YouTube likes to fool around with that. I hope today will be the day that I earn that subscription from you. Now, Kirk, I understand it's really rough that your job has been entirely replaced by YouTube commentators. This is just a fact, okay? There's no legitimate way that you can possibly argue against that, okay? So let's just accept that and move on. And instead of spending the last 2 years building up your own YouTube following, because this is clearly how people like to consume their video game news, you've spent it writhing and wriggling and crying about YouTubers. Why don't you yourself come to YouTube and be the change you want to see? Why don't you put out those glowing Last of Us 2 reviews? Why don't you debunk other people's videos? Or is it that you just want to sit around and whine on Twitter all day? I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.